Good morning, guys, or afternoon. Single stick here on Oracle. I kind of wanted to just see if it takes out this this mark here. We'll talk about Apple in a second too. That was obviously the bigger one that I traded today that I was holding overnight for our 244 weekly target. They took this out with really good strength here today too. These were my targets on the week on Apple, and you can see when they came and took it there, they took it out with really, really, really good strength here. So this implied that they could potentially push to 246. They did. They kind of stalled the 246 area. 246 is not like a super, super strong overhead though. Like it is an overhead, but 244, 244.80-ish is a much bigger overhead in my opinion. And they got a lot of liquidity there. So I figured there's maybe a probability if they can sustain maybe this area here that they could still push this later in the session. I do think though that it needs to probably hold here, probably around here. And so far it's having some good structural holds above here, above here, above here. Okay, let's take a look at ES. ES had some odds to break 67.14 at this point, but this was a perfect zone day. And I did say that we're probably going to be stuck in the zone today, so being stuck in the zone literally just means having a Friday OPEX in the zone, and that's exactly what we had happen today. So kind of around like the 87, 88 mark, and here. So far right now they're kind of just stalling the midpoint here. Like that. So if you look at this, this is honestly a perfect zone day. They're kind of just stalling that neutral zone, which is the same overhead that we had yesterday in real time, like that 12-14 spot that we just couldn't break, if you guys remember. Oh, this should be flipped over. Okay, so I did figure overnight, since they did breach the zone a little bit, it's still fine, because as long as they held upper core areas like above 7.8, 7.9, so on and so forth. But I did figure that this could be what delays us a little bit today. So we are getting a little bit closer. So kind of like off of maybe overnight lows versus real-time holds. It was about 7.25 points. I figured that that could be why they're maybe stalling right here. And I think this would link us back to 6722. Yeah, it does. Do you guys see the offset? Should be exactly our 6722.25, 0.50 spot. Yes, everyone sees that offset. You guys are really quiet this morning. I'm not going to talk too much during the stream because I do have a lot of positions that I need to focus on before the close. I don't want what happened last Friday to happen again, where I missed covering one of my contracts. Okay, so I think it's pretty straightforward day. We'll have to see here if Apple can come back and clear, however. Guys, like I said, I'm not gonna answer too many questions today. I'm just gonna have the stream on. If I find anything worth noting, then I'll note that in there. City, I rolled my calls into next week, but this is hitting our weekly targets. And it looks like it's gonna close exactly where we want it to. Yeah, it's basically durational till the close, Slipperman. I just wanted to see, though, if they'd clear this neutral box before 3. So within this 5-minute window here, there's some odds around 305 too, just in case it stalls. But I think getting above this 14 spot is pretty important here. At least they're bringing it above 1250. Okay, so we do have some odds here just before 3 o'clock. Also from the lows, we're basically stalling 27 points. I think this area here is also going to be the same thing as our 33-point ratio. Yeah, it is. Do you see that? 33, 34 points. It's a super easy day. Like, there's no way you guys should have not caught... There's no way you guys should have not caught this trade. Especially since I told you guys yesterday that we're going to be in the zone. They're probably going to trap this in the zone for the whole day. And you guys already know what our weekly upside targets are. Really nice stick breaks here ahead of 3 o'clock. Perfect timing, because this is the window that we want to break. Can someone document these sticks? I did prefer that they tagged 1650, but we'll see. So far it's looking like they might keep it stuck. Also, Oracle getting really nice stick breaks. Single sticks to that 305.80 on Oracle. Okay, let me go back here and double check something. I think the only one that lagged was Apple, which makes sense because Apple might wait till the close. Did anyone try the Oracle calls? Yeah, you could. Apple, I feel like off this area. I did prefer, though, that they held above here. So I don't really like that they breached. I feel like if it breached right here, it needs really big single sticks, though, through like that 245.55 and through this 245.83. Okay, like it can't stall, especially if it's gonna break down beneath this range in here. It's kind of like a mid range. I would have preferred it held above this spot here and created a better structure, but still okay. Oracle I felt was the better lotto type play because this is off its annual range or 12-month range, this 50% mark in general, and it's the fib that I'm using on my chart that stalled at 2 right here. So I don't know, I figure that this one can easily come back and take out these past structures. Kind of like this range in here. And this is basically... Wow, look at that stick, you guys, on Oracle. It actually is going to that 307 spot. Okay, sorry, I need to focus. Have to focus. Be right back. Sorry. Those calls just went up, I think. I picked them up at 20 cents. I'm pretty sure that they probably exploded there. Yeah, they did. Holy, $1? Oh. Okay, I'm gonna cover some here and I'll leave the other 5. I didn't pick up many, I just picked up 10 for like an end of day trade. Did anyone else pick those up? The 307.50s? Told you guys in the Discord. That was, they were trading at 19 cents there. It looked like there was nothing in between until that 307 spot. This was, the ones I did was the 307s. SPY, really nice break here too. I can't believe they actually took it to 307.69. Kind of stalling the 69 area here. So if this one breaks, I figured this could be a huge mover, guys, into the close, because basically breaking this wall area here, I figured it could probably test like 66% of its ranges, which would basically be like a push to like probably like 310, 311 if Oracle keeps moving here. ES getting those really nice stick breaks post 3. There it is, directly to that 6721. That's 34 points off lows. Can someone document this? Is what we just shared. These were the best odds for the window. This is what would keep us in play of getting a potentially full zone fill today to the 6732, which is part of the weekly plan. That was my first cover on, I had a sell order and I'm pretty sure it filled. Yeah, it did. That was my first cover, guys, on SPY and ES. First cover on SPY, ES. I waited very, very, very patiently for that cover too. I can't believe Oracle had a move like that quickly. That's insane. You guys better have tried taking that. That was a 500% play in like not even 10 minutes. Enter what? I had covered some of my apples so early this morning though, so I want to make sure that I caught the rest of that. It's okay, Apple still could move into the close here. I just figured Apple could be like a little bit later. Oracle is a pretty volatile stock when it wants to go. Every one of us should have entered SPY or ES off the 6688 zone hold. It's a zone day. Do you know what a zone day is? Dunks? You don't get these that often. It's a zone day. You'll get a full zone in one day. Our first major overhead is 67.21.22. Hence that being our first cover. Okay, so you long 6688, especially since they held off overnight lows. That's why I didn't really stream today, because everyone should have already known what the conditions are. I said it yesterday on stream. I said it last night. I said it this morning. It's just a very, very simple, like this should take you to like this area here where they were stalling earlier. Off of here. Okay, do you see that stall? This is also probably 34 points. Yep, to the penny. Okay. Super, super easy, okay? There's no one that should have not traded this. This is such an easy trade, especially into OPEX. Like, that's the most obvious kind of zone day. And start watching this and you'll see how often it ends up happening. Pinnable action in the zone post OPEX. Okay, they're going to utilize the zone to chop around for OPEX, which is exactly what they're doing. It's just a perfect day in the zone is what it is, okay? Did everyone in the chat long A8 though? I knew it was going to probably take a while, which is why I didn't really stream, especially when they started stalling here. I knew that they could, so we could have expanded, guys, if they didn't stall this area for so long. Does that make sense? Like this area here, I knew that if they stalled this for like at least an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, we probably won't get like mass ranges. But if they hadn't stalled like this range in here, then we probably could have gotten like 67.50s today. But I knew with it being like Friday monthly expirations that they probably will digest this range a lot. This area probably caused a lot of people to become impatient, right? Did it cause anyone here to become impatient? Like, this isn't really a good area for like cost-based entries as it would be in this range in here, but the V-type reversal that they had down here was perfect. This is the exact kind of break you want to see. And they also had the best range and best sticks through very important areas, like through 9.3, through 9.9, through 03. Do you see it? 06. And then I started noticing as soon as it started breaking 06, that 08 had a good stick break and then stalled the 10. stalled that 10-12 spot. Remember yesterday I said it has to break 10-12 to have like progressive PA. So I knew that they're probably going to stall this and digest it a little bit. It did kind of come back through 12 here nicely though, which is still more progressive than yesterday, because yesterday it couldn't even do that. Plus in pre-market they stalled the 1250, okay? Right before the open. We also had not a bad open, 67.07. It's still a neutral open though, so it implied that they could keep it stuck in the neutral zone the longest. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's go back and focus here. So 305 had odds to continue. They stalled, but it still closed above 67.1650. If we have to stay above 67.1650 now, guys, for this to have continuation. Do we still have what? Range for top of range? Well, if you're buying off 67.16, that's not a bad entry, but you have to remember that these are also like huge areas where I would say yes, only because it's 3 o'clock. If this was any earlier, I would say no, because they would probably chop it back and forth here. I still think that we could try getting the 2.5, 2.7 areas that we talked about yesterday. Those would be the first targets, and then potentially 3.2. The idea was that they could maybe take it to the channel today. I don't know if they're going to take it to the channel anymore, though. I feel like we're kind of running a little bit low on time, but they did take it above 16 though before 3, which is really good. So it implies that this period they do want to stay above this blue area here, okay? But it still wasn't above 2.2 before 3, or 20 before 3, if that makes sense. Let's also take a look at the ranges from open close, highs, lows. So we said that from a high to low ratio this week, we could potentially hit, first, for starters, 88 points. This was the 88-point break. Do you guys notice where they closed yesterday? 87 to 0.75 to 89 points off structure low to structure close. Okay, that's very, 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 very important detail for starters. Okay, so this implies that you usually can get at least a 22-point break, because 22, 44, 88, do you get what I'm saying? So right now we just broke that 22-point metric from the prior close here, but we haven't yet broken it on today's opening range. So 22 points from today, I think we just hit 21.25. So we need that exact spot that we've been talking about, that 67.22. 67.22, 67.2250 is definitely the overhead. Off a low range, that would also be potentially a break of 44 points. So there's a lot of overhead in this area here, like around 2.2, 2.350, high euro. So you won't really progress unless you break those types of ranges off of real-time lows, which I think was 8.7. This is how we could get the top of the zone. Does that make sense? Like the 3.1, 3.2 off the real-time lows. They're currently stalling exactly 34 points off real-time lows, okay? Real-time lows, I think, were like right here. So exactly 34 point stall right now off the real-time lows. And the overhead area is so obvious between 2.2. So what do we have? 23.50. 2.250. 2.2. So the only way you'll expand is if you snap that area. Does that make sense? Like you take out all those levels in one single stick. Does that make sense? Like you're not going to break and expand another 20 points or so unless you really take out all the range. So from an overall weekly basis, I did say that we can hit, first you usually start around increments of 107, 115. So they did break 107 points off lows. 115 is a third of 346 points. So like right around here. Do you see that that 2-6 spot, 6-7-2-6. And we talked about these ranges from the prior days too. Like these are pretty big spots in general. And then from yesterday's open close, the 64-66 ratios align with 30, and then we said 68 aligns with 3-2. So basically the bigger overhead is around the 22 to 2350 area, slight overhead around 26, 27, bigger overhead around 31, 32. And then max range I had for the week, if we got full range on the week, was 6739. I don't know if we're gonna get this today. I don't think so. I feel like they'd really have to push the 20s if they're gonna do this, but my max range from the week from the report is this. It was the 6738 to 44 area. Okay? Everyone is on the same page. The only way you're gonna get like mass progression here too is, so there's the 1250 stall here. Here's the 1425 break. Where's the 1650? You have to basically hold this 1617 area. Okay? And when you take out this range in here, you have to take it out. Let me just apply these spots on here because these are going to be the overheads. Kind of like a lot of in between, but basically when you come take this range out, let's say you break 2-2, 2-1, it has to be like this. Okay, does that make sense? That's how you would have odds of getting like a bigger push into the close. How many of you guys held the Apple calls from yesterday? I told you guys I was going to hold on. Then this has odds of still hitting that 244. Like, this was a huge move on Apple. I'm pretty sure Apple's the #1 mover today. Our calls moved 2,000%, you guys, from that break. Like, off the... I had the 240s. Day traded the 242s, and then I did a lotto play off the 245s. Although, I guess 247.50s would be more of a lotto, but I didn't like that it hasn't even broken 247 yet, though. Maybe that would be more of a lotto once it breaks above here, but... I wonder if Meta could be a good mover into the close too. Banks also did decent today. Not super strong, but still pretty strong, especially post Fed week. If anyone's still swinging these ones. These are the ones that I said swing into this week from last week. And if you did, I bought it back in here when it flagged on Citi. I don't know how many actually took this trade, but this has been a pretty insane trade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the 7th bar, and it's not even exhausting, it's expanding. And look at where it's expanding off of. Citi's 100% going to go to 106. I don't see how it wouldn't. This is such a huge area, and these calls move so nicely too. This is the 7th bar on Citigroup, which usually implies you can get an extension of 3 more bars. I was thinking if it clears this 102.98, 103.45, it could push to like this 105 area, potentially 110. Bigger range would be like the 110.60, 112, but another one that had a decent setup was not JPM. I think it might have been WFC on, I don't know if it was on an 8-day chart. Yeah, this is a really nice one, and I told you guys earlier this week, this one hasn't really moved yet. You could pick it up. I told you guys Monday, Tuesday. Look at how nicely it's moved since. Did any of you guys trade this one? This was the one that hadn't yet moved, so it had better odds of getting a better break. We looked at it on Friday last week, and then again on Monday. I think it fully cleared this area here too. Probably hitting like... I'm not going to apply all of them on here, but... Back wasn't bad either, but I didn't take back. I just took WFC and City. Goldman was okay. Morgan Stanley, same thing. I feel like Morgan Stanley, JPM, and Goldman Sachs kind of traded the same. BAC maybe still has some room, but I feel like this one still has the most room to run in comparison to some of these other ones. But City was definitely one of the stronger of the bunch. All right, let's see here. If ES can get this stick break, then we'll cover. So basically, it's once it touches 6722, like you can't stall that. Does that make sense? Like this area here, you can't stall. It has to be like, you have to get like the full range in here, okay? Where did the NQ chart go? I don't know where it went. It's not here. Can someone send it to me? Maybe... Maybe here? Yeah. Okay. This was the bigger overhead on this one. Kind of similar to what we talked about yesterday. And then I think we said... I don't think we measured the full range on this one, which we easily could do. So for NQ, I think equivalent would be... This is probably the 143 mark, so around 24,850, let's say. That's probably going to be the same thing as like ES hitting 65.23. And then off overnight lows, I'm pretty sure that would be closer to like this sustaining 143 right here. Do you see that? So maybe you could mark that as like a structural hold here. Hi, good afternoon. Yes, it does. And we were long Apple overnight, thankfully. We just caught a bit of Oracle too. These are the weekly targets too, which is nice. So yeah, maybe that 204 range, which I think is like the equivalent of like 32 points on ES, and then 214. So it should be aligned with like the top of the zone area here, like 28 or 24864. And then what's the next ratio? 221. 221 is closer to like here. So maybe off overnight lows, this would be more aligned. I'm not sure if they can hit full range off today's real-time lows, because that would be quite a lot, and it would be like basically the top of the zone here. That might be a little bit hard for them to do, but... And then offer actual calculated metrics closer to here, which they breached a tiny bit, that makes sense too, because that's kind of the same range that ES had breached beneath 8788. So I'm thinking, yeah, off the measured ranges, these areas here, I should probably make these a different color, probably will be the max ranges for NQ today, okay? Off the 221, if we did like 214, this is 32 to 34 points, guys, by the way, in case you don't know what I'm putting on here. Or another way you can look at this is from today's real-time open, which was, what was real-time open on NQ today? You can usually start with 78 to 85 point ratios, which is the 12-13, or 110, which is 17 point ratios. So the 74 is usually the first range. So that would make sense that this is why they're stalling here. Okay, so these should be in alignment with that. Or 78, sorry. Here, I'll copy paste them again. What did you trade today, Stockstream? So it should have the same alignment that we had with these anyway, so like around that 24,848,851, and then maybe close to like the 84, yeah, like right in here. Yeah, so this is pretty accurate off open too. Basically between like this area here, like the 24,851 to 52-ish spot. If they break, and then if we had the full 110 points, I think it would maybe align like right here. So same with ES, still stalling 76722, which is good. You don't want to take out that. Oh, you're trading JD2? I had JD2, but I'm long for October. You have leaps? This is a clear trade on JD. We don't see these too often, so usually a clear trade means when they take out structure, they sustain off lows. Right now it's kind of just stalling that 35, 56, and 81, but its next move, it'll take out 38. Like these are usually clear trades, you'll get like the full range break, so you'll see something happen like this. But I ended up rolling into October. You should buy back. Not that I'm giving you trading advice, but it's a clear trade. Oh, for 2027. Wow. Yeah, this was one of my favorite setups. And then I'm long Citigroup too, which I ended up rolling into next week. I took it long off this flag. Citigroup is basically, what this thing is doing is, it basically cleared its 1990s ranges like kind of like back in here. Where is it? When we first traded this was such a nice trade off these ranges in here. And now it's basically cleared the full area up here. I don't know if you can see that. Usually when you get moves like this, it implies that you'll get that, like right now it's trying to close above that January 30th bar, which is huge, this area here. So I could see it potentially get to like 112. It's a really big break. And then if you look at the 2007 ranges when it broke down, 2008, kind of where all that liquidity came in from, right? So plus this one and BAC are like the two banks that never fully recovered after, but now they're finally starting to see some movements. but do you see that? So this year is really interesting on City because it's basically holding its 2008 ranges. We haven't had like clearance like that ever on this. Does that make sense? Like it held a little bit back here in 2023 and it held the ranges in 2019, but it's basically sustained above like those midpoint bars, which typically implies that it wants to bring it back. And then I noticed at the beginning of the year they broke this area here. But if we only focus on the ranges in between, like you can see how nicely this has been trading around them. Like just the midpoint ranges, like here. This is where it cleared, basically. This area here. And we were looking for the 103, 102 by the 19th. That's the exact kind of stick, guys, that you need. Look, first close above 2.2. It's doing it. First spot was 26.50, 26. Do you see it? I'm telling you, as soon as it takes out 6722 and closes above there, you'll get this nice stick break. Perfect range. Dunks, did you do that trade? Because it held exactly like we said. As long as it holds 1650, 17, and it comes back to retest 2.2 and closes above 2.2, you should get some nice structural moves to the 2.6, 2.650 area, like this range in here. NQ, where did NQ push when it moved here? To those spots? Oh, nice. See, exactly to that 24.85154. These are pretty big areas here, and there's definitely some liquidity. I still think that they push this higher, though. They're not going to stall there if they had an exact close at 22. I highly doubt that. Like, I highly doubt that that would be the case. Okay, let me focus a bit, guys, too, on my positions, because I didn't cover anything there. I think that would mark like 664 on SPY, maybe. I was trading the 662s and 61s earlier. Lots of really good movement today, though. Okay. Let's see. So I would say that the conditions this time, so you see how they're stalling that 2650? Condition, it didn't take out 2650 on the first attempt, so that's the first stall. I would expect that there would be probably a little bit of a slight reversal there. I want to see if they can hold off 22, 21, maybe 21.75. I don't really want it going too much lower than that, though, if it wants to continue. We did start this period, though, in between 16, so kind of the range that they have in between. On Target, I've always had like such bad luck trading Target. I don't know why. Like every time I buy that, I feel like I always buy it and then I don't buy enough time or something on it. Like I feel like I've that one in Walmart. But I haven't looked at Target in so long. I like Donut still. I know that that one's kind of just been stuck, but Target looks... I know Target was breaking down on its 3-month, and I'm pretty sure it's hitting its 4th range. So usually when stocks, like especially on like a 3-bar reversal like this, when they hit their 4th bar, they start reaching a point where it has to reach a point of exhaustion or expansion. So its cutoff is October 1st. So meaning if it's going to exhaust, it probably has to start doing so in this next 10 days. And I would imagine it probably has to be off these structural areas here. I don't know if you see that. Like right here. And this would be the deadline. That's a 3-bar, 4th bar reversal on Target. That's not a bad setup, but I guess you'd really have to monitor its price action over the next 5 days, 6 days. Because if it doesn't exhaust, then that's where it could push down this exhaustion bar here. Do you see what I'm saying? Like through here. I wonder... The 11-month charts are always the better looking setups. 10-month doesn't look bad either. Yeah, I guess it's like this area here. So my thoughts would be if they're gonna exhaust this, then it probably, let's say it holds down here, you probably need to have like really good strength all the way back through at least like 92 would be my thoughts, because that's probably the range it's in right here. Do you see that? And then this could be the next leg down if they don't sustain basically this range in here. And I'd say September 29th and the 1st are probably the more important days to see if this sustains, because if it wants to really negate, you'll get like a strong day like this or something, like back to 90 on Target. I'm gonna watch that one next week then, just to see what it does there. Maybe I'll set some alerts so I don't forget. What is this? 87.55. 89.39. All right, let's see. Can you guys remind me to sell all my contracts into the close? I can't believe I did that on Friday. Because that one broker, I swear, I thought that they would cover for me and they didn't. We have, oh. Meta kind of had slower PA today in comparison. So NQ stalling those areas. This makes total sense. I didn't mark those opening range spots, but they were right off of here. Pretty sure these are like the... This is the 84.5 right there. And they did close there, but they haven't cleared it. Do you guys see that? 84.5, guys, is the same thing as 13 points. 13 times 6.5, equivalent to ES. Okay? Does that make sense? And then off like the real-time lows, they're basically stalling that 143, 144 point ratio. Do you see it? 143 is the same thing as 17 points. Or 22 points, sorry. Off the lowest close for real time, I think. Let's see. Okay, this would make sense. So they probably have to take out 5.9, I guess, for like some progress to be made here. But this area here is basically them closing 22 points off open. Around that 5.2, 5.4. Also, I really love how they sustained our ranges this afternoon, like above 24,796, and then held over this 24,824 here on NQ, especially after 3. Do you guys see this? This would be the equivalent of like that 20 or 67.40 14, 16. Yeah, it's breaking down a little bit here after stalling that 2650. 2650 was a huge overhead, so we already knew that that could stall in that range here. That was the first major spot above 2375. They still have some odds to take this up into the close, but now they have to start really being cautious about how much range they use, considering we're very, very, very close to hitting max ranges on the week. And I don't know if you guys saw, did you guys read the weekly report? I can't believe we actually hit those ranges. So 6, 7, 16, 6, 7, 2, 2 was the first stall. They stalled around 20. And max range for the week I had closer to 67.32, with maybe some odds that they can get like into that channel area. There's a lot of overhead though around the 7, 67.08, 67.12, where they could digest a bit, and they did. Hence, and this made total sense. Like, they kept stalling 12. Do you know what I'm saying? And then the second commentary here from the weekly report was whether or not they would keep this in the zone, which is 6688. They did a really, really, really good hold of 6688 today. And a zone break is, so what we were looking for is potentially entering a new zone. Like, this is the zone break. The leap straddle. You're making me want to swing trade again. I feel like I don't swing long. My idea of a swing now is like 2 weeks to like 2 months, but I haven't done leaps in a while, other than like when I did crude leaps like a few years back in gold. On Apple, yeah, I didn't like that structural hold. Big Daddy, I was telling you earlier, I think it should have held above here, so it gives it odds of coming back to here. But that being said, if they can hold a higher low above this spot right here, like this area here, then there's still a chance that they could bring it back, but it just might reduce the range a little bit. That's why I did 245s instead. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. I think I kind of want to roll my Apple calls. I don't know. I only have like 2 runners left on one position, and then these few contracts on those 245s, but I think that breaking down right here, I don't know if this is going to have time to break into the close. We'll have to see if they hold. Maybe I'll roll this into next week. I don't know the verbiage on this broker. Yeah, it kind of just depends. Like, I roll a lot of contracts too sometimes, so I mean, I guess sometimes it's longer than that, but unless I think it's like a bigger type setup. But I'd say on average, like, usually not more than like 2-3 months. Unless it's like common stock that I'm holding or something. Yeah, like I feel like on these Apple calls this might be a better time to roll out, but I don't know. think it's relative to whether or not you're like near or at the money. And maybe like once you've hit like at least a threshold of like 70% maybe. So it's profit potential. Yeah, I think it's more when it's like at the money. So like I was saying, I think because they started the 3 o'clock session closer to, oh, I didn't even realize I completely reset our chart, guys. Hold on. Before I lose my before I lose my template and then the session closes and I shut down my computer. I'm like, what the hell happened to my template? Okay, so we had 2650, right? 26 2375 22 this area here. Okay, because we started the 3 o'clock session closer to, it was still a good break because it was above 1650, but still around this box range here. It implies that you could still see back and forth basically between these ranges in here. I still think it would be better if they held maybe like the midpoint, probably maybe around like this area here. I still want to hold above the 20s, but we'll see. I would say because they hit 2.6, they have a decent odd of sustaining a little bit higher than 16, in my opinion, but we'll have to see what they do here. And Apple coming right back to this box in here. I figured that that would be the case when they kind of stalled that area. We have some odds though right into the close here, so we'll see. I just want to decide what I'm going to do with these contracts, so I don't know if I should roll them or just cover them. I don't really want to hold anything over the weekend, this weekend. Like for short term. I know, I don't know if I should roll them into next week or roll them into like October. That's a nice hold, guys, above 20 here. This is where I'd prefer to hold, is in between this range here instead, because I would say if they had stalled 2.3, 2.4, then they probably could have pushed this back down to 17, 18. But because they tagged 2.6, we have pretty good odds that they would sustain around 20, especially into the last 15. This is a really good reversal ahead of the 345 period, or at the 345 period. Let's look to see if they can clear 2.6 before 350, and then we're going to watch the last few minutes here ahead of the close. This is durational till session close today, which usually implies that the high of day can occur right at close. And I said that earlier in the stream, that this is a durational till close session. Usually that means your highs hit at 359. Okay? But we don't have too much overhead left up here anyway, so let's do a poll. How many think that we're going to hit our max range for the week? My max range for this week was 6-7 for real time anyway, okay? the week. 6, 7. So 6, 7, 2, 6 was technically one of them, but I'm just gonna put 2, 7 in here. 6, 7, 2, 7, 2, 6, 6, 7, 2, 8. 6, 7, 2, 9 to 6, 7, 31. 6, 7, 3, 2 was 6, 7, 3, 2. 6, 7, 3, 3. That was a huge spot. And then we had some odds of like this range in here, which I don't think that they can do in real time, but I mean, I don't know. I guess we'd have to see. I personally thought that, or maybe someone wants to guess that highs are in. I don't think highs are in, but I would have said highs are in if they didn't tag 2-6 and if they didn't hold 20. Can you guys vote on that, please? That's the first poll for today. I didn't do any. So my thoughts would be if they can retest 2-6 here ahead of 350. And I think our next overhead in here that we had calculated was around this spot in here, somewhere in here. I didn't mark them, but these are the ranges, okay? I personally think that we can still hit 3-2, but I guess we'll have to see. A lot of it's going to depend on what they do in these next 2 minutes and what they do off the 5-4, 5-5 mark. If they stall right here, you guys, that means that they're going to limit range, okay? If they don't stall around the 349, 350, it means that they could decide to push range at 5-4, 5-5. So, okay, let me just focus a little bit so I can close some stuff out too before the close here. I don't want last week repeating itself. Okay. Only 9 votes, you guys. Come on. What are we at for time? What's that alert that just went off? Yes, or Apple? Oh, so that means Apple got some stick breaks into the close. I figured Apple could be a very late trade today too, though. That's one of the reasons why, but I just wish it... Oh, wow. It actually got that full stick break. That's crazy. I told you guys that too, that Apple might push at 350. That's nuts. Wow. It actually is pushing at 350. That's crazy. Maybe it's a good thing I didn't roll yet. I was sitting here trying to figure out if I should or shouldn't. Okay, just give me a second, guys, because I have so many positions that expire today that I need to close. They fully saved the range back, but okay. ES tagged and broke 2-7, so this is good. That was the next overhead area. This means that they don't want to limit range, guys. Okay? I would say if they broke ahead, that would probably increase odds, but they still closed above 2-6. 50, 2-7 on the 50 stick. They definitely do not want to limit range. We want to see if they can try tagging maybe 2-9 by 5-2, 5-3. We could actually even get some of like the, I don't know if they're going to get the full channel here, but we'll see. I said that we could hit 6-7, 3-2, 3-3, but maybe there's some tiny odds that they could actually trigger those extensions. That would just be a bonus if they did, but okay. I'm going to shut up for the next 2 minutes just so I can not forget to close positions until the close again. And have my freaking option exercise on Monday morning. Luckily it was Tesla, and luckily it was the 382 contracts, and luckily Tesla went to 430 on Monday. Otherwise I would have been screwed. Okay, Apple I said could push into the close. This was more of a confluence area around 247.10, 247.09. So that was my max range on this one for real time today, but it really would have to have some crazy stick breaks here into the close. ES so far stalling the 2728 range, like kind of closer to here. And like I said, I think if they start clearing the 2750, 28 and start testing 29, maybe around like the 5.4, 5.5 mark. Can someone, actually, let me just set this alert. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 50, just in case. I almost hit buy instead of sell. Oops. I had such a good day today, with the exception of freaking selling some of my Apple calls a little early this morning at 2:45. Are they retracing, guys, on ES? This is a very important period here to see if they take out that 2750. Is Oracle getting a break into the close too? Oh, wow. Wow, I told you guys it could hit 310. That's insane. I had 5 contracts left of that too. On those 307.50s. What a crazy, crazy move. I don't know if any of you guys kept those ones. I sold the first few and then I left the rest. Wow, those hit $3. That's insane. That's a huge spread though. What about ES? There we go. That's the exact kind of break we want to see here into the close, especially off the 5-5 stick. There it is, 67.29.25. We're setting up really nicely, guys, to trigger 3-2 into the close. Those are the exact stick breaks you want to see. And if you hit, like I said, 3-1, 3-2 as early as 5-5, you can actually expand a little bit into the channel this afternoon. Our expansion ranges for the week were close to like 3-6, 3-8. These areas here. I didn't think that they could do it in real time, but I mean, if they do, that's even better for us, obviously. Like, I did cover some here though, guys. I had an auto sell order at the 3-1 mark on ES. Okay, just in case, because 355 is a huge point in time, okay? I think the only thing I have left open is some of these ES contracts, some Oracle. I think Oracle, though, I closed. Did I close? Yeah, I closed the Oracle calls, guys. That was a huge trade. I can't believe we picked those up at 20 cents. That's insane. That is crazy. And I said this is worth watching into the close. Wow. That's wild. NQ hitting max ranges here too. There's a deal. That's wild. I could tell that this thing could break. Remember how we were saying too that I said that if they break 307, they could probably stall around 310. Overhead is around 312. So this definitely has some odds, I think, because they did take out this 310 mark in here. And that was exactly right, is they did stall the 310. Then there's still some room here that they could push to 312. This is crazy. What a move. 20 cents on those contracts, guys. My first cover was off $1, and then I covered the rest on that break. It could obviously push a little bit higher, but I don't want to miss covering anything into the close here. That's crazy though. They hit 345 from 20 cents, you guys. I wish you guys took that play. It was almost like a 2,000% move into the close here. That's crazy. Final minute here, guys. Did any of you guys take the Oracle play? Even the second time when we were looking at it, there's still 34 cents. That's a freaking huge, huge move. That's insane. Did you capture most of it? I'd covered the first half and left the second half for the last 5 minutes because it had really high odds into the close. That is crazy. Sorry guys, I had to make sure I covered everything. No, I didn't. I didn't trade Microsoft today. I wish I bought more Oracle calls though. I initially put an order in for 20 contracts and I was like, no, I'll just put one in for 10. I should have done the 20 contracts. I had a really, really, really good feeling about that one. Sorry guys, I'm still a little shook from that big break. This was insane. I did the 307.50s in here because I figured that this thing could push at least 307.86. I covered half here on this stick break at $1 and then just kind of left the rest into the close. I fully covered though before the close on this stick break. I knew it could maybe stall 310, 311, but overhead is 312. They probably take it to 312 after the bell. ES hit 73150. And like I said, I think a lot of this is going to be based off what they do at 355. If 355 takes out 3132, this could have odds to continue. They stalled, hence the cover there. And I think the overall range reduction here of 7.25 points is the exact equivalent of the 7.25 points down here. Do you see it off the lows versus our zone hold. I'm pretty sure this was exactly 7.25 if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 7.75. Okay, so there was some reduction into the close around a similar ratio, especially between like 3:59 and 4 o'clock. That implies that there could have been maybe a 7 to 7.75 extension. That's closer to like 3.5, 3.6, 3.6, max maybe 3.9. So we definitely had those odds in play, guys. If they had installed 3.1, 3.2 at 3.55, that would have implied 3.6 to 3.9 areas. A potential push into the close. What else? What did you guys want me to look at before I sign off? I actually can't believe Oracle got that big of a push into the close. That's insane. This is crazy. And I had told you guys, I think they'll probably push this to 310. 310 is, it was kind of a weird area, but I knew that they probably won't push the full range to 312. But if they take out 307.86, they could easily push it in between. So it was kind of just like the 50 to 75% ratio. They could easily take this up though after the bell. There it is. Like they have very high odds of taking this out after the close. And that's insane that they actually announced news like that into the close. Wow. 300 billion cloud deal? That's insane. And the talks with Meta on that. Thank you. Look at it. There it is. There's a 312.09 here on Oracle into the close. They could easily push this to like 319. I don't know if I'm going to hold the... I didn't hold or roll any of this into the into next week, but we'll definitely keep this on watch next week. Because now this is setting up to retest all-time highs. This is basically a 11-month extension here, is what it is. Like where it stalled. Where's the... like right in here. Do you guys see that? And you almost always hit a 25% extension when you break ranges like this. So I would imagine if they're holding off, let's just delete these for a sec. If they're holding off of okay, let's say this range in here, they could easily push this to like 365 probably. I would imagine this is also maybe a similar range from the gap to here. Yeah, it is. Isn't that cool? So maybe Oracle moves in like 52 point ratios or something. And like 72, 73. Do you see that? Sorry guys, I'm still kind of shook because I wasn't expecting to sell those contracts near almost $3. That's crazy. ABAT. Okay, let's take a look. ABAT. Oh, let me also reset this too. I actually stalled just beneath this 1209 and 12. This is a really nice looking daily. Maybe the 4-month is a good time frame to use on this one. Booth. It comes back to that supply range. Seems like that's the proper ranges it's working with too. And this time you got a better structural close above this area here. Let's see. It's also flagging on a 7-month and a 6-month. I just want to see something though. Where is this mid-supply? Because this is probably, what did you say you have to do? Extend, right? This is probably, once it clears this is the mid-supply. So that's probably why it stalled here last time. That's a supply zone. Does that make sense? So I think if it clears that, that could easily start pushing. That's a really nice setup actually on a, so kind of like this. That would be like maybe the range it would be headed towards. Do they have options, or are you just trading common stock? $23-day. Oh yeah, that's a nice flag. So then maybe that could be like the time range to take out the mid supply or something. You could also maybe look at like maybe like 40, since it's a 4-month, maybe like the 120-day by 3 increments, like 40 days, if that makes sense, because like 38 days or something, kind of where they started flagging this. When do they have earnings? November. This isn't bad either. $28 days not bad either. Well, I mean, because it is 4 months, like 120 days, right? So maybe you could even watch that. Maybe like track it from like the actual point in time of their low range. Let's see. When did they trigger those? Yeah, like June 26th, 27th. Do you see that? Like when it cleared? Booth. Since it's a 4-month, which is 120 days, that's the clearance date. So maybe use that 120 day to actually help you track like an actual point in time versus just the 4-month chart. That would be December 17th. So what's your midpoint between then? That's probably where you're approaching now. Right? Because 60 days. So Monday is going to be super important. Monday, Tuesday. Okay. Those are probably the earliest days that you could maybe clear or retest these highs, is Monday, Tuesday on this thing. That would be like your midpoint. That's a nice setup. And then I think 75% of your time interval would be like the 90-day mark, which is probably close to when they have earnings, I would bet. When do they report? The 13th. On Google. I have to find my Google chart. Didn't we just say that Google is in an all-time high territory and is just a continuation till end of year? Especially, didn't I say that before on Google? Like down back in here, like when it came back and finally cleared. This is where I said to take Google long for end of year. It was around the 174 to 184 because it had odds of retesting all-time highs back in here before end of August, if you remember. Right here, August 22nd through. It's just an all-time high continuation, I'm pretty sure, with Google. I don't think I set any specific targets. It's basically it's on its third bar, so it just can continue till year end. You could probably just buy maybe leaps on this one because there wasn't really any major setup. It's just a continuation setup. It's also expanded like more than its range from like an open to close ratio. So like once you start hitting close to like here, Arun, like maybe close to like 260 point here, this area here, then you could start seeing if it starts exhausting there or if it wants to expand, because I would think if it wants to expand off of that type of range right here, which is its previous exhaustion range, then you would have odds of getting, because basically what happened is this thing from its like annual lows, okay, this is why when it started breaking above this area here, do you see it, which is its highs, do you see that? That was an annual range, okay? Does that make sense? Off these lows, and this might not be exact, I'm just giving you guys like a idea. It might be a little bit closer to here or something, like this area in here, but from open to close, okay, 60. Basically these ranges in here. Once it started breaking these types of ranges in here, okay, are you seeing that? And then like it gapped completely above this area here. This is when you were setting up, like that's why they stalled it back here. I don't know if you can see that. This, that was the annual range. So you're basically now at an odd of getting your full range, which would be like off of these areas here. Probably close to like here. Mark these on your charts because these are probably the big points. And I think for the rest of the year, then you could have odds of getting like breaks off here. This is where maybe you'll have some signs of like exhaustion around 271 or so, right? Obviously the bigger ranges are going to be if you fully expand off this area here, which is where you could get like 279. But this is the cleared annual break on Google, basically. Okay? As soon as it cleared this area in here, so you're really approaching that, and it's probably going to be around the 22nd through 26th and 29th, because that's a very important time for ES2, right, to decide if it wants to keep breaking its increments of thirds. So when does Google report? The 28th of October? Yeah, that's like, that's pretty, like, I would imagine that this little, I would bet money that this little gap right here, like where they actually held, is probably going to be right around the 300 mark. Do you see that? Look, where they actually opened and closed this. Do you see that? That's exactly like around the 300 mark off that candle, this gap right here. So So you technically could say 300, but maybe it's closer to 289, 293, 295 if they fully gave range, but there's definitely a lot of overhead. First around the this area here is going to be the area that decides that, and then around the 270s or so, like this range in here. Those are, I'll send this in Discord if you want it. And that's a major reason too why they also held this kind of range in here. Like you can see it. Do you see that? And then if you look at it from an open close ratio, from like these open closing sticks when they built better structure, that's probably why they stalled this area right here. It's actually really calculated, but yeah, I would imagine that this could be a really big overhead spot right here, like these areas in here. So basically it moves around 68 points. And this is your clear trade right here. So your first major mark is going to be this area here, and then this area here. This is maybe where they could take it back and forth a little bit, but because they have earnings is not till a month from now. But remember how I said that we could expand September and it would throw everyone off? Like if we get a zone sweep and expand, people are going to be like, what the hell, it's September, we should be crashing. So far that's actually playing out. So Oracle, I think, still moving here after the bell. Where did they stall this? Oh yeah, almost close to 312. Okay guys, I'm gonna sign off. I had a really long trading day. I will see you guys on Monday, or Sunday actually.